Ladies and gentlemen, fellow delegates, distinguished guests, I want to welcome you all here today to day number 2 of the Ohio Wesleyan Democratic 2020 Mock Convention. "40 years ago, when I was a delegate from the great state of New York, the United States was at a crossroads. High inflation, high unemployment. We were a country divided. But 40 years ago today, in Lake Placid, New York, at the Winter Olympics, our country was united. United behind our ice hockey team that beat the Soviet Union. Against all odds and coming from behind for 3 times, that win represented the spirit of the people of America. We are amazing. Today, as the Democratic Party, we are united together, representing the best of America, to find the best candidate to take back the White House next January. With that spirit of unity, I now call the 2020 Democratic Convention to order. Can we please all rise and please join us in standing as the Ohio Wesleyan Jaywalkers sing the national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cut stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Please welcome to the podium Ohio Wesleyan's interim chaplain, Chad Johns, who will offer this morning's invocation.
While I stand before you as a Christian chaplain, I invite you to pray with me in whatever tradition you come from, or if you claim no tradition as your own, then I invite you to take this as a moment of reflection. Shall we pray? To the all that is holy, as we gather in caucus and care, as we debate our hopes and our fears, as we seek to discern those who would lead us for the next 4 years, we confess that the union we have formed is not yet perfect, that we live in a present plagued by our past, that we often care more about our party winning than our neighbor suffering. So may we commit this day to the vision of one nation, diverse in color, culture, and creed, but indivisible. May we commit this day to the vision of one nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all are created equal. May we commit to this day to the vision of one nation, forged in the idea that human dignity is the foundation upon which democracy is built, and not just the dignity of the wealthy and white, but every person who calls this land home. May we commit this day to the vision of one nation, led by those with a passion for stability, justice, and peace, who believe that power is a means to achieving a better world for all people, and not an end unto itself. May we commit this day to the vision of one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Please remain standing for one more minute. Please welcome to the stage the Helen Crane Service Unit of the Girl Scouts, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, everybody. Please join me in welcoming Danielle Black, member of the Executive Committee, to the stage to introduce Elaine Shearer.
Hi, everybody. Our speaker today is Elaine Shearer, Democratic candidate for Ohio's 12th Congressional District. A Delaware, Ohio native, Ms. Shearer received her BA in journalism from Ohio University in 2001. She worked as a co-host on the WNCI Morning Zoo with Dave and Jimmy. She loved her days in radio, but ultimately made a switch to marketing and advertising. In 2009, she started her own digital agency, Cement Marketing, becoming one of the few women business owners with a business earning more than $1 million in revenue. In 2016, Ms. Shearer founded a group called Women in Digital because she was fed up with inequalities faced by women working in tech and digital fields. The organization is now called Together Digital and has chapters across the nation with members reporting success with improving job confidence and negotiating paid family leave. In 2009, Ms. Shearer announced her candidacy for Ohio's 12th Congressional District. Ms. Shearer and her husband Seth are the proud parents of 4 children, Lily, Benjamin, Cohen, and Foster. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Elaine Shearer.
How are you, Ohio Westland? I hear you are going to have an absolutely amazing day, and congratulations for all being here so early, young faces, on a Saturday. This is absolutely inspiring for me to stand up here and see all of you. I am running for Congress in Ohio's 12th Congressional District because I'm running because I am not ready to give up. I'm not ready to give up on my country. I'm not ready to give up on my neighbors, my community. I'm not ready to give up on the chance of achieving affordable health care for all of us. I'm not ready to give up on creating new jobs for the future and solving our climate challenges at the same time. I'm not ready to give up on creating equality for all of us. And ultimately, I'm running because 10, 20, 30 years from now, I want to be able to look my children in the eyes and let them know that their dad and I, and them too, because they're definitely a part of this, that we did everything we could to change the course of our country right now. And I'm running most of all because this is my home. This is our home. I was born in Grady Hospital in Delaware. I grew up on Park Avenue, right across the street. My mom and dad were incredible community members. My dad was a family physician. And he treated people no matter what, whether or not they could afford to pay him. My mother owned a store on Sandusky Street, and she had a business that she loved. And I couldn't have asked for better parents and a better childhood right here in Delaware, Ohio. And they taught me a couple of things. One of them, first and foremost, was to love your neighbor above all else. The second was to fight for what you believe in always, and to never give up, especially when people tell you that it can't be done. They taught me to never run away from challenges, but to face them head on, and that's what I've done my entire life. When I was 22, and I was a reporter at a local radio station, I was told that I could not win the Associated Press Award for Best Reporter because I was a woman. That was the only reason they gave me. And because of my amazing male boss, he encouraged me to do it anyway and win, and I did. Later in my career, when one of my bosses told me he couldn't be alone in a room with me because he didn't know what would happen, and when he continued to harass me, and when they told me I had to move to a different department, instead of relieving him of his position, I quit and I started my own digital agency in the middle of our greatest economic recession that we've seen in our lifetimes in 2009. And then in 2016, I started a group that people told me could never be done, a group for women in digital and tech aimed at lifting one another up. And today, that group is nationwide and has nearly 2,000 members. Today, together with you, I face the greatest challenge of all of them thus far, and that is flipping an Ohio congressional district for the first time in 37 years to become the first woman to ever represent this district. And it is something that, believe you me, I have been told many times is very hard to do and downright impossible because no one's ever done it before, let alone a woman, let alone one of us. There have been 7 men named John representing this district and not one woman yet. So what we see right now, and why is this so challenging? Yes, it's the lines, the gerrymandered lines that have been drawn to keep us divided, to keep us unrepresented. Right now, regardless of your party, as an American, you must believe that that is fundamentally wrong, that your neighbors are left unrepresented and frustrated. With a congressman, and many of our congressmen in this state, drew those lines themselves when they were in the State House. It is not okay and it's not right. In this district, in District 12, though, this year, we have a chance. We have a mathematical chance. We have a chance as Americans to flip this district. We have all kinds of reasons we can, and very little excuses as to why we can't. One of the reasons we can't, though, is how divided we stand right now, lost in a sea of labels that we cast upon one another. Left, right, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, American versus American. That is what is the most frightening to all of us, is the division. And that division prevents us from having a voice in Washington, a true representative who represents the people of their district no matter what, even if we don't agree all of the time. It's called compromise, and it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have constructive conversations. So, right now, thank you, all of you in this room, each and every single one of you, regardless of your party, are invited to join my campaign, which is our campaign, to flip this district. Everything depends on this county, which happens to be the place that we all love so much. Delaware County represents America right now. And this is why it's so important. So all of the frustrations that you feel, I know we all feel this. I'm one of them. We feel frustrated and we feel powerless at what we're all facing as a country right now. But what is so amazing to me is that right now, here in this room, we can break this chain. We can break down these lines that have divided us. We can choose our country over our party, and we can flip this district, and we can inspire the rest of the country to come together across party lines and work together, again, for equal representation. Right now, as young people in your community, you hold an incredible amount of power. You also have more free time than you'll ever have again for the rest of your life. So, if you think you're busy now, please just wait, and please give your time to any campaign that you choose. Local, state house races right now that could break the supermajority in the Ohio State House and help us to break down these lines permanently. Get involved in a campaign. Spend time, maybe 2 hours a week working on it, and tear down the screens. Get away from your screens and engage with one another, and you will find an incredible feeling of fulfillment. And yes, you will feel more powerful, and yes, you will feel more American, as you do today here at this mock convention. So thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm so excited to represent the 12th District and move us forward faster. And please go to my website. It's elena2020.com if you'd like to sign up to join the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, future Congresswoman Scheer. Let's give it up. Your words and your story are truly inspiring, especially in a time where it can be so hard to keep fighting. We are so excited for you to be the first woman to represent the Ohio 12th. Let's give it up for women, right? It is my distinct honor to call our esteemed parliamentarian, Dr. Louthan.
One minute. During the past year, sadly, we have lost two people who contributed so much for so long to the Ohio Wesleyan Mock Convention experience. And so I would like to read a brief statement about each of them and then ask that we observe a moment of silence. The Honorable David Staley served Ohio Wesleyan University as a distinguished professor of mathematics for nearly 40 years, starting in 1961. He was also a long-serving activist in Democratic Party politics in Central Ohio and served as chair of the Delaware County Democratic Committee. Beginning in 1972 and continuing for 32 years through 2004, Dave Staley served as the permanent chair of every Democratic mock convention at OWU. The Honorable John Peterson was born and raised in Delaware, Ohio, and graduated from Ohio Wesleyan, where his father, a notable national Republican, was at the time the chair of the Politics and Government Department. John Peterson was a lawyer, a pastor, a member of the Ohio House of Representatives, and a long-serving Delaware County treasurer. Beginning in 1996 and continuing for 20 years through 2016, John Peterson served as permanent chair of every Republican mock convention at OWU. Would you please bow your heads in a moment of silence to celebrate the lives of Dave Staley and John Peterson. Thank you very much.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce to the convention OWU's esteemed a cappella group, The Outsiders.
Let's give another round of applause to Outsiders.
And now, it is time to find out who our next nominee for president will be.
On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Dance floor pro, I know.
Come on, we're gonna vote who our next president's gonna be. Get jacked up.
Everybody looking at me, glancing a kid. Wishing they was dancing a jig.
All right. So before we begin, I just want to give you all a brief overview of how we vote to nominate a candidate. There are nomination forms available here at the front of the stage. You must fill out one of these and gain at least 30 signatures from a minimum of 5 state delegations. Now this is important. A delegate may only sign one nomination form for president and one for vice president. So one, you're done, that's it. That's it. Once your forms are in, we will open the floor to speeches on behalf of your candidates. The state nominating the candidate will be given the opportunity to speak on behalf of their candidate first, and then anyone wishing to second the nomination will be given the chance to speak. The total time for nominating and for seconding a single candidate will be capped at 10 minutes. The speeches will be given in the order that the forms are submitted.
Once the nominating process has been completed, the convention chair will do a roll call vote. State chairs, we ask that you please be prepared to announce the number of votes your state casts on behalf of each candidate. Remember, you may only cast votes for delegates currently on the floor. The same procedure will govern nominations for vice president. So if you only have 6 people, you're still allowed to split your votes. So you can say you have 4 of you for Jeff Goldblum and 2 of you for Danny DeVito, I don't know, whatever. But make sure you're prepared to say that when we do the roll call vote so we can keep things going a little bit. Sound good? We'll now take a brief recess for you to gather your signatures.
Take a spell, but I
I'm trying to make the announcement you asked me to make. So, whoever turned in the nomination form for Amy Klobuchar for president and for Michael Bloomberg for president, well, first of all, you didn't circle whether it's for president or vice president. Second of all, neither of these have enough signatures, so please come to the front of the stage to get these back and collect more signatures. Thank you.
like he was Poindexter.
Not for vice president, but for president.
For loving
Humza, who nominated Vermin Supreme for vice president, please come to the stage. Your form is now incomplete. Somebody scratched out their signature.
If you didn't get your shirt, please go to the check-in table sometime today to get your shirt, or else more shirts for me.
so
please, whoever nominated Danny DeVito for vice president, please come to the front of the stage. Somebody scratched one of their signatures, so you need one more signature. Never mind, hold on a second. I have two announcements. The first, for the vice presidential nomination for Julian Castro, there are not enough signatures, so you will need to get 30 signatures. So whoever is the sponsor for this, please come to the stage. Second of all, there are questions where if you have more than enough nominations or signatures on a nomination form, the example is Elizabeth Warren's had 39. If people could scratch their names off of that and sign another one, and as long as it still remains at 30, then that's okay. So. All right, thank you.
If you were one of the 30 people who signed for Pinocchio, you can now sign another vice presidential nominating form because you might not want to clap. Well, maybe you do, depending on, because Pinocchio is not eligible for vice president because he's a fictional Italian character. So that's a double whammy. Sorry, guys. But hey, you can sign another one.
But you can sign for another vice presidential. We can.
Yeah, that's why I started. Okay. This is Fatima, everybody.
But you can sign for another vice presidential nominee. So if you have any other names, you can sign up for that.
You have 1 more minute to turn in nomination forms. 1 more minute.
We're going to go ahead and get started. For the last-minute entry of Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who I believe is the voice actor who plays Pinocchio, we are not accepting the nomination since other people scratched their signatures in favor of a different vice presidential candidate, so they're insufficient signatures. Thank you. Everybody, we are about to get started for the debate for the next presidential candidate for the Democratic Party of the United States of America. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, clap. This is exciting. Come on. Before we get going, though, we have a very special guest in the audience, our fellow Girl Scout troop here who led us in a Pledge of Allegiance. And in their honor, we wanted to do a little something fun for the audience. So please hit the music.
Here. We got it. I'll give you some time.
Just to show fans and audience. Oh, here we go.
Turn it up. Come on. All right, you guys really got to get down for this. I know you want free Girl Scout cookies. Come on. I hope you didn't have any New Year's resolutions, because I got a little special treat for you. Oh! I don't know who got this. Someone in Utah. Oh, I don't know. Oh, in Colorado. All right.
Thank you. You can be seated now. I will say, keep up the enthusiasm. We might have more boxes later on. That's what we call in the showbiz a tease. So I would like to welcome to the stage my fellow co-chair, Valerie Schwartz, who will be moderating the debate on the presidential candidates. I would also like to announce who we have with enough signatures for the presidential nomination. First, we have Elizabeth Warren. Second, we have Pete Buttigieg. Third, we have Bernie Sanders. Fourth, we have Amy Klobuchar. And last, but definitely not least, we have Jimmy Carter.
Okay, so as a reminder, the state nominating the candidate will be given the opportunity to speak on behalf of their candidate, and then anyone wishing to second the nomination will be given the chance to speak. The total time will be 10 minutes, which I will be counting. So, the first person to please come up is for your candidate for Elizabeth Warren. May the nominating state please come to nominate your candidate. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'd like to first thank each and every one of you for coming to this convention and uniting the United States in the same way Elizabeth Warren will unite the United States. Warren has spent 30 years teaching constitutional law at Harvard University. Elizabeth Warren has spent the past 7 years as a senator for the great state of Massachusetts. I'm tired of old white men leading this country astray. Joe Biden had literally nothing else to do with his time, yet came fourth in Iowa and New Hampshire. Pete Buttigieg has never won a national election. Elizabeth Warren has the progressive ideals that will move this country forward and conduct big structural change, not just for the 1% or the upper class, but for the middle America, for the working class America, for the liberal arts student, for the public school students. I cede the rest of my time to my fellow delegates who wish to support Senator Elizabeth Warren as the first female president of these United States.
Are there any other delegates that would like to speak on behalf of Elizabeth Warren? I need a second.
Hello, everyone. I would like to remind you all of the platforms that we adopted last night in support of environmentalism and to change this great state of the United States, to make it more environmental for everyone and to protect everybody's right for land and safe drinking water, because that is the platform we adopt, and Elizabeth Warren gets an A in the book for environmentalism. And we need a person who will support that in office to be able to bring change to the United States and to support all of the Democrat platforms that we all support here today. And so I believe Elizabeth Warren will be able to do all of this for us and unite the United States with her progressive ideas to bring this country together. Thank you.
Are there any other delegates that would like to speak? Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hannah Gretsch from South Carolina. Just like to point out that Elizabeth Warren already took on one billionaire on stage, and she can sure as hell take on Trump.
I'm Mindy Hedges, the state chair of Connecticut. Yay! Elizabeth Warren is amazing. First of all, so does Obama say in private that he is supporting her, not endorsing her yet because he's not endorsing any candidates, but he is supporting her, and he has asked his private donors to also support her, by the way. But that's not the only thing. She has created a plan, as she has for almost everything, yay, including, by the way, paying back and helping people with their college yeah, thank you. And also Medicare for all, which is what we just voted on, by the way, and there's only 2 candidates that are supporting that. And also, the other really important issue here is that Elizabeth Warren, during the recession at the beginning, created the Consumer Protection Division and also hired and was a part of hiring the man who ran for governor of the state of Ohio. So she was the one who helped us out of this recession, and she's brilliant. So I think we should vote for her for president. It's time.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the delegate.
I'm a delegate from the great state of Texas. And I support Elizabeth Warren for all of the reasons that have been mentioned, but even more importantly, because we need a woman in the White House. We need a woman who knows what it's like to be on a debate stage and have other people look at her and forget about the plans that she actually worked on and forget about the bureau that she actually helped to start form. We need a woman who knows what it feels like to be in a room and be ignored. We need a woman who's looking out not only for white women, but also for women of color. We need a woman who knows what it means to have access to reproductive care. We need a woman who understands what it means to stand up and fight for what you believe in, even when the people around you are looking down at you and are ignoring you because they don't respect women. And so I'm supporting Elizabeth Warren for that reason, because we need a woman in the White House who gets it.
Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hi, I'm Katia. I'm from Arizona, and short and sweet, Elizabeth Warren's a Theta, and she's a leading woman. Woo!
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Okay. Oh, Chair recognizes the delegate.
Yes. I had the delegate from the Smart Pack Collective believe that Elizabeth Warren is one smart cookie. And that's why we should vote for her. She is wicked smart. Just like Smart Pack. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the delegate. We have 3 minutes left.
Lisa Ho, State Chair for Indiana. I just want to point out that Elizabeth Warren has been endorsed by the American Federation of Teachers, the National Union of Healthcare Workers, and the Black Lives Matter movement. So if these things matter to you, then you should support Warren.
Alex from California.
Stay safe.
I would like to acknowledge the fact that Elizabeth Warren would be the oldest person elected for president if she was elected, but she would also be the youngest woman ever elected as president. Thank you.
This will be the last person to speak. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Ellen Arnold, Chair of the great state of Georgia. I would like to support Elizabeth Warren's candidacy for president because she models so much of what we value here at Ohio Wesleyan, most particularly the ability to not only hold conversations and hold her own in an argument, but to listen to others, reflect, and change policy and change ideas based on argumentation.
Thank you. Elizabeth Warren is now officially nominated for president. I would now like to call to the podium, or to the microphone, the state chair who nominated Pete Buttigieg.
My name's Jordan Griffith, and I'm a proud supporter of Pete Buttigieg. In my personal life, I actually drove out to Iowa to knock on doors for him because I believe in a new generation of leadership. On the day after the inauguration, the sun will rise, whether we have a Democrat or whether we have Donald Trump. We have a duty not to just stop the bleeding, but to come up with a coherent vision for what America will look like, not for the next 10 years, but for the next 50 years, for our children and for our children's children. By the time Pete Buttigieg reaches the age of the current president, we'll be in a far distant future, one that will affect all of us every single day. We have a duty to put that new generation in the office, to make sure that we are electing someone who has a stake in our future, who's experiencing the losses that we faced in the global financial crisis, who's grown up in a place where he's seen himself move from being closeted to being accepted, to having gay rights and gay marriage recognized on a large scale. But Pete Buttigieg has a personal stake in these issues because Pete Buttigieg has lived through them. Pete Buttigieg will make our country greater in the future. He'll build on a strong past. He'll build on a legacy of service, a legacy of shared values. He'll build a party that brings people together, not sets them apart. Pete Buttigieg recognizes, growing up in conservative Indiana, that most of us want to get on the right side of things. Most of us want to come to a point of more support. But we build that by bringing people in, by meeting them where they are, by building a new supporting system, and by making sure that people are accepted. Now, Pete has one of the best qualities in a leader, I believe. It's not his military service, it's not his mayorship, it's the fact that Pete Buttigieg can recognize when he's wrong and make active steps to fix that. What's a further cry from the current president, right? Our current president digs his heels in, whether it's true or whether it's false, for our detriment. When Pete's wrong, he steps back, he listens to the people who are talking to him, and he makes active steps to change. And I'll say one last thing. Pete Buttigieg has $200,000 in student debt. Pete Buttigieg has a negative net worth. That's more student debt than I have. That's more student debt than a lot of people will have. He campaigned without a job for years on end. The most salary he's ever earned is the mayor's salary of South Bend, Indiana, where he transformed a city that was declared dying into a thriving city. It's not perfect, but he knows what it takes to build real progress and real change in America's heartland. Here in Milwaukee, we have a right and a responsibility to support someone who will bring us together, who will lift up the people who have been left out, and will build a better future for America. Pete Buttigieg is the president to do that. Every Democrat who's won in the past 50 years has been a young person from the heartland. Let's repeat that success. Let's put Pete in the White House. Let's build a future we can believe in, an America built on belonging. I cede my time.
Thank you for the nomination. Do we have a second? Recognize the delegate.
I've been asked to speak once again on behalf of Pete. Pete Buttigieg is one of the only candidates with a reasonable health care plan, Medicare for all who need it. You can still have your private option if that's what you want, but it's there for everyone who can't afford private health care. Pete is one of the most electable candidates in the field right now, and he's the only person who can defeat Donald Trump in November. Thank you.
Nomination has been nominated. He has been nominated and seconded. Are there other people who would like to speak? Chair recognizes the delegate.
I am Meg from New York. I hear two main arguments against Pete Buttigieg. One, that he is young, another, that he is too centrist. Neither of these, to me, make for the worst presidential candidate. Personally, I am tired of being represented by people in their 60s and 70s. There is nothing wrong with the wisdom of age, but in a world in which we are facing environmental challenges that will affect future generations, I want to be led by this generation. I want to be led by people who are actually going to experience the problems that I am going to face, because those are the people who I can trust to represent my interests. And as for moderation, some of the most essential, lasting legislation that has been made in recent decades, really in modern history, not just on the environment, but the environment is what I know the most about, so I'll speak to that. But essential environmental legislation has been made by moderates because they can actually collect votes. And it's not just about winning a presidential nomination, it's about winning policy once they're in the White House. I believe Pete Buttigieg is actually capable of doing that, and I believe that he will act in the interests of our generation and our country's future.
Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hello, it is Pete Buttigieg here. I like to go by Corporate Pete or Bourgeoisie Buttigieg. You can call me that, and I'm here to say I stand with the corporations. In my future, everything will be owned by corporations. It will be a corporation for you, corporation for them. Together, in this dystopian future, everyone will be part of a corporation. You have to fight for your right to be part of that corporation. In the end, it's whoever's strongest and whoever gives me the most money. Thank you.
You still have 3 minutes. Okay, I'll recognize the delegate.
Hi, Chris Sprunger, State Chair for Montana. I would just like to recognize that that was clearly not Pete Buttigieg and that these comments be stricken from the record.
Are there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this nomination? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pete Buttigieg is now nominated for president. We now turn our attention to Bernie Sanders. Would the state chair who nominated Bernie Sanders please come to the podium?
I do.
Chair
Yeah.
recognizes the delegate. After that goes down a little.
My name is Fatma, and I'm from the great state of New Jersey. Do you guys feel a burn? Not yet? Why should we vote for him? Why should we vote for Bernie? One guy who was a very unknown senator. One guy who won Vermont with the most, which was majority Republican held county. He won the senator in 2006. That same guy is looking forward to give you public health. Who wants private health? Do you guys want private health? No. Isn't it like the stupidest, dumbest idea on the earth? The only country in the world that has private health. One medicine that I can get, I'm a person which has pre-diabetes. I ran out of glucophage. I got a prescription and I thought, okay, how much would I pay? What, 20 bucks, 30 bucks? Guess what? It was 2,000 bucks for 1 month. 2,000 bucks? This guy is fighting for the people of the United States. This is the party for the people. And he has shown it, not once, but more than once. When he talks about African Americans and their rights, when he talks about Latinos, when he talks about women of color, when he talks about young generations, he listens, he's empathetic, he knows what he's doing. Don't underestimate him. Don't think that he's some populist that he can't win, because he can. If he can win that Senate seat that was held by Republicans for decades, he can sure win this presidential nominee. He can sure become the president of the United States. He can sure give what the people of the United States want. So I guess, just feel the burn.
Thank you. Bernie Sanders has now been nominated. Could we please have a second?
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, I'm Braxton McDonald, representing the state of North Carolina. When I look across the field of candidates, I see a multitude of persons who pay a lot of lip service to the most important problems we face today, so it sounds like they're on our side. But then they try to sell you on half-baked solutions. Pete Buttigieg, for example, has voiced his understanding that healthcare is a huge problem for Americans, and he's absolutely right. But he champions a middle-of-the-road healthcare plan he dubs healthcare for all who want it. When asked if he believes that his plan is bold, especially in comparison to Sanders' Medicare for All plan, he said that it was bold enough, that we should be grateful for him breadcrumbing us piecemeal, incremental change. Elizabeth Warren, for example, has rightly identified that student debt is a ballooning financial crisis that will not only cripple students like us, but it'll one day burst and leave the economy in ruin, and she's right too. But her plan suggests that we should vet every single one of the current 44 million people who have outstanding student loans and only alleviate some students of their financial burdens that they were shouldered with shortly after leaving high school, instead of arguing that there should be no standard by which we decide who and who is not worthy of our help. On stage, Warren was asked, knowing that 1% of Americans serve in the military, if she believes that that number should be higher, and she responded, yes. I mention this only because her platform explicitly states that she supports de-escalation of military involvement abroad. Americans are tired of costly and devastating wars, and yet she champions growing our already massive armed forces and its monstrous budget. Again, this candidate has only used the rhetoric of social progress to propose incomplete solutions. Bernie Sanders is the only, and I emphasize the only candidate who has not only remained consistent on his positions throughout the decades that he has served as a public servant, but also that he has the courage to propose a true vision of progress, not empty words or hollow proposals, but real, tangible roadmaps to how we're going to recover and prosper in the future. Thank you very much. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you. Bernie Sanders has been nominated. And second, is there anyone else who would like to speak on his behalf? We have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm the state chair from Colorado, Anthony Paget Geddes. I would just like to address some of the recent news that has occurred as I've heard it plaguing some of the conversation here today. You may have seen a recent announcement from the intelligence of the United States of America that the Russians are supposedly supporting Bernie Sanders. However, as much as I dislike Pete Buttigieg, I think he's right on one thing. He pointed out correctly that the Russians do not support a political party. They do not support Bernie Sanders. They support chaos. They want us here today to argue and try to state that Bernie Sanders is somehow a Russian agent or something ridiculous like that. Bernie Sanders himself, much different to Trump, stood up and said, as soon as he heard this news and it was brought to the public, excuse me, that he's wanted Putin to be aware that if he was elected president, he would not stand for meddling in our elections. He does not like the thug, to put it in his words, that is Vladimir Putin. I just want to make it extremely clear that the Russian government does not have any interest in Bernie Sanders as president. They have interest in sowing discord in America. And the longer that we begin to push and discuss today this ridiculous narrative that Russians are somehow in favor of the most progressive candidate, it's ridiculous. Also, to finish, some of people will believe that perhaps the Russians are interested in Bernie Sanders because they think he cannot beat Trump. I would like to suggest that Bernie Sanders not only has the vast majority of the youth vote, people like us here today who now are going to make up the largest percentage of voters, but he also has led the largest grassroots movement, the largest revolution, and he has the ability to bring us all together. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 3 minutes. Does anyone else want to speak on behalf of Bernie Sanders? Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hi, Matthew Akins, delegate from North Carolina. I just want to say that Bernie Sanders is the most honest and authentic candidate in the race. For the past 30 years, he has kept the same positions, the same policies, and the same platform. He has never wavered from what he believes in, and if we nominate him for president, I think he will represent us.
Thank you. Seeing no one else to speak, Bernie Sanders has now been placed officially into nomination for President of the United States. We now turn our attention to the state who nominated Amy Klobuchar. Chair recognizes the delegate.
Thank you, Chair. Aaron Nicely, State Chair for the state of Illinois. Woo. All right, so when we aren't growing corn and tipping cows and rolling tractors, we're doing one thing in the state of Illinois, and that is picking the next president of the United States of America. Lincoln, Obama, and now Amy Klobuchar. Whoa. Now listen, we all know this is true. This is not an election between Democrats and Republicans. This is a fight for the moral soul of our country. This is not a time for extremes. We pick extremes, we will lose. Because that center of the United States that goes red and red and red every election is going to go red again if we alienate the middle voters out there that we need to turn to the Democrats. Amy Klobuchar is the candidate to do that. She is a powerful voice with core American values. Values that speak to you and me and all of the future generation of this country. Community and compromise, family and friends, and trust. And honesty, and all the things that make the United States of America, these United States of America, great, and all that we believe in. Amy for America is the future. 14 years, a U.S. Senator from Minnesota. Yay for Minnesota. Go Gophers. My almost neighbor to the north. She has won her Senate seat 3 times in a red state. The only candidate, by the way, who can do that, and has done that. And she has done it fighting for everything we believe in, affordable health care for all, a public option for all, improving and strengthening the Affordable Care Act, building on what President Obama did in his 8 years in office, those glorious 8 years in office. Don't throw that away. Let's improve it, let's strengthen it, and make it the future. Unleashing American know-how to build a green economy. That is also the future. That will give us strength in the 21st century here in the United States and throughout the world, and she is going to do that. Humane immigration reform, pathways to citizenship for us, and for all of the immigrants who are coming to this country, legally and without proper authorization, to say we are an America that believes in the American dream for everyone, and we will fight for that future. And she cares about us, the future generations. School reform, building a strong educational system, and tackling the pernicious problem of student debt, the one that so many of us in the country are saddled with. She comes from a modest family. Her mother, school teacher. Father, a sports writer. She was high school valedictorian, Yale political science, Chicago law. She has the strength, she has the knowledge. She is known as a compromiser that gets things done in the Senate. And she is the future for us. Amy for America. Thank you.
Amy Klobuchar has now been nominated. Do we have a second? The chair recognizes the delegate.
The state chair of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. The westernmost part of the United States is supporting a Midwesterner. And here's why. Amy's not running against Senator Warren. Amy's not running against Mayor Pete. Amy's not running against Senator, Amy's more thank you, Sanders. Amy's not running against the former Vice President Biden. Amy's running against Donald Trump. So, wherever we differ with our fellow Democrats, we differ more together against Donald Trump. So I'll give you the political message for Amy. We need Elizabeth Warren in the Senate to work with Amy Klobuchar as president. Why this way? And you might say, well, let's keep Amy in the Senate and let's put Warren in the White House. Because Massachusetts has a Republican governor. If Warren wins this race, we're down 1 in the Senate. And this isn't a race just about the presidency. In fact, I would argue this is a race more about the Senate as much as the presidency if we truly want to get the progressive agenda that these candidates agree on. So we got to think strategically and big. We've got to think about who can win the purple states and what candidate who supported the 2019 Green Plan and has won in a purple state can do that. That's Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar has passed 100 bills in the United States Senate that has been run by McConnell since she's been in there. She knows what to do to get Senator Warren and Senator Sanders' projects through. And so that's why I support her. I don't support her because I'm against any of the others. I'm against the Republican domination of public policy that doesn't match both Democrats and Republicans of this country. Please join me in supporting Amy Klobuchar.
Thank you. Are there any other delegates who would like to speak on behalf of Amy Klobuchar? Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hello, my name is Catherine. I am a delegate for North Carolina. And with everything facing us today, especially our generation, climate change, our rights being tested, and everything that requires immediate action, nothing inspires me more than a moderate, lukewarm candidate as this one. I really feel like that things will get done immediately when taking consideration and not really being aggressive, assertive on stances. I really feel comfortable with the lukewarm aspect of knowing that other sides and the right will be considered and everyone will meet in the middle. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. We have about 2 minutes. Are there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. Amy Klobuchar has been duly nominated, and second, she is now officially nominated. The last presidential person to be discussed right now, could we please have the nominating state chair for Jimmy Carter come to the podium? Chair recognizes the delegate.
Hi, I'm Carly. I'm from North Carolina.
So among the established candidates in the Democratic field right now, there are a few specific criticisms that have been repeated over the campaign cycle this far. One is lack of experience. With candidates whose qualifications range from mayor to business executives to spiritual advisors, it's no surprise that voters are uncomfortable with these figures jumping into politics at such a high level. The other is electability. While sometimes paired with misogynistic sentiments, voters carry some legitimate concerns about which candidates can realistically win an election in our current polarized climate. Fellow delegates, these concerns are real and they're permeating our political discourse. However, there is one individual outside the current Democratic field who is unaffected by these criticisms, with the experience and the electability to unite the country. That person is Jimmy Carter. Look at the facts. He has 4 years of presidential experience under his belt, and having already been elected president before, electability is not even a question. He is a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, now spending his days serving his community with the same patriotic spirit that he led our country with. Jimmy Carter, our small-town peanut farmer from the beautiful state of Georgia, is the candidate we need to break into the field, beat Donald Trump, and hopefully enter office with a well-prepared vice president. While the field is oversaturated with 70 and 80-year-old candidates, we don't have any 90-year-olds yet. So I urge you all to vote for Jimmy Carter as our nominee so he can have 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. James Earl Carter has been nominated. Do we have a second? Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second. You can hold on 1 second. Oh, all right. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Thank you, Kurt Sprunger, State Chair for the state of Montana. Might I just add, many people in here are going to say, isn't he going to kick the bucket in like 2 seconds? What I'll say is this. Some candidates that are currently being considered nationally had suffered major medical incidences and were out for multiple weeks. I didn't want to mention names. Jimmy Carter, on the other hand, had fallen down some stairs, fractured his skull, received a black eye, and the very next day was out there for Habitat for Humanity building houses for people. If that's not the resilience and determination of a true leader, not to mention his efforts during the Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt, I don't know what else you need besides that kind of proof. Jimmy Carter is by far the best candidate here present today for president. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the delegate.
Thank you. Dylan Hayes from the great state of Kansas. Go Jayhawks. I am so thrilled that Jimmy Carter is nominated today. That man has 95 years of experience. He has been president before. So don't bring up the question of electability. He's gotten elected before. And I believe that if we fund a government-funded cyborg program, we can give Jimmy Carter many more terms. We also got to change the Constitution. But first off, if we make Jimmy Carter a Terminator, there will be no question of his age. He'll be the most experienced candidate, and he will never die because he will be a cyborg. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the delegate.
As a delegate from Massachusetts, but born in Atlanta, I just want to say Jimmy Carter was a great governor when he was governor before I was born. But also, he was a great president way before I was born. The man is 1,000,000 years old. He's survived all the cancers. He's the most electable president, no doubt. He's done it before, he can do it again. He put solar panels on the White House so that Dick Cheney could throw them in the garbage. But he could put a second set of solar panels. We'll find him. We'll find him somewhere.
Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind's dedication to living for the past 95 and 92 respective years is quite impressive that I think he can go for another 20 years. And that remember, he only finished his one term, so he has many, many more years ahead of him to establish a second term. And might I add, he is the most personal president that we've ever had, because when he would go canvassing from door to door, he would leave, "I'm sorry, I just missed you," from Jimmy. I say the most personal president should be back. Thank you.
We have about 2 minutes.
Ross Long from the great state of Illinois. Here's the deal, folks. Listen, Jimmy Carter's not on the nomination. The key to this election is defeating Donald Trump, whoever that is, whoever our candidate is. The Democratic Party is a party of inclusion. That includes everyone, including old white men like me. Looking around here, I'm probably one of the few veterans that are here. Probably the only Vietnam-era veteran. But there is a group of us that we still care about this country. We may be in our 70s. We may be in our 80s. But we vote, and we understand that the disgrace, the national disaster it's in the White House today just cannot stand. He's the worst president. He is McCarthyism all over again. This country is better than that. So whoever our candidate is, get out and support that candidate. Whether you're an 18-year-old college student, which incidentally, I graduated from here 50 years ago, whether you're an 18-year-old student, a 40-year-old middle person, or a 72-year-old white guy like me, vote for our candidate. We cannot have Trump anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy Carter has now been officially nominated for President of the United States. Therefore, we have 5 candidates for you to choose from. 1, Elizabeth Warren. 2, Pete Buttigieg. 3, Bernie Sanders. 4, Amy Klobuchar. 5, Jimmy Carter. We're going to do a roll call vote in just a few minutes. Please know a couple pieces of information. 1 is that you can split your delegates, but when you stand up, please say how many delegates you have for each candidate. Additionally, at the time when we did an account, when we started this nomination process of 200 people, 200 delegates in the room. Therefore, 101 votes are needed for the nomination. You have 3 minutes now to canvass and caucus with your group, and we will be back to do the roll call. Thank you.
Aware that I was nominated for president, and I want to thank you all for nominating me. However, I am 29 years old, and so I am ineligible to actually be on the ballot. However, you can tell your younger siblings, your family members, to come in 2028. I will be eligible then, but thank you for those that did nominate me.
Mac!
We're about ready to do the roll call. Remember that in order for a candidate to win, they must get a majority. In this case, 101 votes are needed. If no candidate receives that majority, then we will recount and we will have a second voting process with the top 2 vote owners. Are we ready for the roll call? All right. If you want to come to the microphone, that's great. Otherwise, if you could stand and kind of yell sort of loud so we can make sure that we hear what your votes are. Please make sure that you say how many people from your delegation for each candidate. Alabama.
Not here.
All right, we will come back. Alaska.
3 for Jimmy Carter.
Good. America Samoa.
Not here.
Not here. All right. Arizona.
2 for Warren, 3 for Pete, 1 for Carter, 0 for Bernie, 1 for Amy.
Did you get all that? Can you do it a little slower and a little louder, please? If you could stand. And you have to really scream. I'm being serious. We can't hear you up here.
2 for Warren, 3 for Pete, 1 for Carter, and 1 for Amy.
Arkansas.
The great state of Arkansas looks to the future and casts 2 votes for Pete Buttigieg.
California.
The great state of California cast 9 votes for Warren, 6 votes for Bernie, 3 votes for Carter, 1 vote for Klobuchar, and no votes for Pete Buttigieg.
We'd also like to ask to hold your applause so we can hear every single delegate and number. Thanks.
Colorado.
Fantastic state of Colorado cast 2 votes for Warren and 1 vote for Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. Connecticut.
The wonderful state of Connecticut has 1 vote for Bernie, 1 vote for Pete, 2 for Amy, and 2 for Elizabeth, and none for Carter.
Delaware.
2 for Amy.
What?
2 for Amy.
Thank you. District of Columbia.
No DC.
Florida.
Florida votes 4 for Bernie and 1 for Jimmy Carter.
Thank you. Georgia.
The proud state of Georgia, home of Martin Luther King Jr. and Jimmy Carter, proudly casts 4 votes for Jimmy Carter, 1 vote for Bernie Sanders, and 6 votes for Elizabeth Warren.
Guam.
1 vote for Bernie and 1 for Pete.
One for Bernie, 1 for Pete?
Yes.
Thank you. Hawaii.
Hawaii has 1 vote for Elizabeth Warren and 1 vote for Bernie Sanders.
Idaho. Illinois.
Lyndon Lincoln has 2 votes for Warren, 1 for Sanders, 4 for Klobuchar, and 1 abstain.
Indiana.
The great state of Indiana believes that the future is female. We vote 4 for Warren and 1 for Klobuchar.
Iowa.
The great corn state votes 2 votes for Bernie Sanders and 1 for Elizabeth Warren.
Kansas.
The great state of Kansas casts all 1 of our votes for Elizabeth Warren.
Kentucky.
Kentucky casts 2 votes for Elizabeth Warren.
Louisiana.
Louisiana casts 4 votes for Elizabeth Warren.
Maine.
Great state of Maine cast 1 vote for Elizabeth Warren, 1 for Bernie Sanders, and 1 for Amy Klobuchar.
Maryland.
The wonderful state of Maryland cast 3 votes for Warren, 1 for Sanders, and 1 for Buttigieg.
Massachusetts.
We're 3 for Jimmy Carter, 5 for Elizabeth Warren, and 1 for
Who was the last one?
It's 5 for Elizabeth Warren and 3 for Jimmy Carter. And that's it.
That's it. Michigan.
The state of Michigan would like to cast our votes as 3 for Jimmy Carter, 0 for Bernie Sanders, 6 for Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar for 3, and Elizabeth Warren 0.
Minnesota.
Minnesota casts 2 for Bernie Sanders and 4 for Elizabeth Warren.
Mississippi.
Mississippi votes 2 for Amy Klobuchar and 1 for Jimmy Carter.
Missouri.
Missouri votes 4 for Warren, 1 for Carter, and 1 for
Montana.
Montana has 2 votes for Jimmy Carter.
Nebraska.
3 for Warren.
3 votes for Warren.
Nevada.
2 for Warren, 1 abstaining.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire casts 1 vote for Jimmy Carter and 1 vote for Elizabeth Warren.
New Jersey.
New Jersey casts 9 votes to Bernie and 2 votes to Elizabeth Warren.
New Mexico.
Random enchantments votes for Warren, Sanders, and Klobuchar.
3 votes, 1 vote each. 1 vote each.
1 vote each.
New York.
New York votes 1 for Amy, 3 for Jimmy Carter, 1 for Bernie Sanders, and 8 for Elizabeth Warren.
North Carolina.
North Carolina cast 5 votes for Bernie Sanders, 2 for Elizabeth Warren, 1 for Pete Buttigieg, and 1 for Jimmy Carter.
North Dakota.
North Dakota votes 1 for Bernie Sanders, 1 for Amy Klobuchar, and 1 for Pete Buttigieg.
North Mariana Islands.
Lonely archipelago in the Pacific, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, will be underwater if we don't pick the right candidate here. Slowly losing our islands. So we vote 2 for Amy Klobuchar, who will get the job done.
Ohio.
Ohio has 1 for Warren, 2 for Sanders, and 3 for corporate Pete.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma casts 2 for Elizabeth Warren and 2 for Amy Klobuchar.
Oregon.
Oregon has 1 vote for Elizabeth Warren.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania votes 4 for Pete, 1 for Jimmy Carter.
4 for Pete, 1 for Jimmy Carter.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, the friend with benefits, votes 1 Sanders, 1 Warren.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island is 3 for Warren.
3 for Warren.
South Carolina.
South Carolina votes 3 for Warren, 1 for Carter, and 1 for Sanders.
South Dakota.
South Dakota has 3 for Pete.
Tennessee.
Tennessee has 3 for Sanders.
Texas.
Texas has 12 for Warren.
Utah.
Utah has 3 votes for Elizabeth Warren.
Vermont.
Vermont votes 1 for Bernie Sanders, 1 for Elizabeth Warren.
Virgin Islands.
The Virgin Islands has 1 for Bernie.
Virginia.
Virginia votes 1 for Pete, 1 for Bernie, and 3 for Warren.
The great state of Washington that's given the country Starbucks Eddie Bauer and Grunge Rock. It's going to put the woman in the White House and 4 votes for Amy.
West Virginia.
Wild and wonderful West Virginia has 1 vote for Bernie Sanders and 1 vote for Corporate Pete.
1 vote for Bernie Sanders and 1 for Corporate Pete.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin has 5 for Warren, 2 for Sanders.
Wyoming.
Great state of Wyoming has 1 for Carter and 1 for Warren.
1 for Carter and 1 for Warren.
Democrats abroad.
Not present.
All right, so we're going to go back to Alabama. American Samoa.
Not present.
Nope.
District of Columbia. Okay. Back in a minute with the tally. Can everyone please take their seats? I have some information. Just a little point of information to begin with. We were using 200 as a number of people who were in the delegate floor at the beginning. However, we had 250 people vote, so we're going to go with the 250 because it was so much off from the 200. The voting was as follows. Elizabeth Warren, 100, I'll give you one more piece of information. To win, you need 126 votes. That's 51% of the 250. Elizabeth Warren had 111. Pete Buttigieg had 29. Bernie Sanders had 52. Amy Klobuchar had 28. And Jimmy Carter had 30. With that, no one met the 126 votes, so we're going to now have a second roll call between the two top vote getters, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. We're going to give you 3 minutes to caucus in your state. You are then going to have a vote between those two to say who your state votes for. Oh, wait, sorry, one more thing. Just a minute.
Honored delegates, if I just hold you up for a second, it may turn out that fewer than 250 people vote this time because people seem to be coming and going. If it is 250, then obviously 126 will be a majority. But in the runoff election, irrespective of how many people vote total, the winner will be the person who has more votes. Okay? Thank you.
Good, thanks, sorry. I was a little too...
Sanders and Warren camps, ask them if they'd like their candidates placed on the VP nomination.
Again, the two people that you would be casting your votes for are Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Please stand and, as loud as you can, say what your vote count is. All right, we ready? Alabama. Not here. Still not here. Alaska.
3 for Warren.
Arizona.
7 for Warren.
Arkansas.
2 for Warren.
California.
We have 10 for Warren and 6 for Bernie.
Colorado.
Colorado still has 2 for Warren and 1 for Bernie.
Connecticut.
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 Connecticut, go
5
ahead.
for Warren and 1 for Bernie.
Delaware.
2 for Elizabeth Warren.
Florida.
3 for Sanders.
Georgia. Georgia?
Oh, jeez. I've not internalized this. 2 for Sanders, 9 for Warren.
Guam.
2 for Sanders.
Hawaii.
1 for Warren and 1 for Sanders.
Idaho.
3 for Warren.
Illinois.
Illinois, 4 for Warren, 1 for Bernie, 1 abstain.
Indiana.
Indiana, 4 for Warren, 1 for Sanders.
Iowa.
Iowa is voting 3 for Warren.
Kansas.
Kansas sends 1 of its votes to Elizabeth Warren.
Kentucky.
2 for Warren.
Louisiana.
4 for Warren.
Maine.
2 for Warren, 1 for Bernie.
Maryland.
4 for Warren, 1 for Bernie.
Massachusetts.
8 votes for our daughter from the great state of Smack. Elizabeth
8 for Warren.
Michigan.
4 for Warren, 4 abstaining, 6 for Warren.
Minnesota.
2 for Sanders, 4 for Warren.
Mississippi.
2 for Warren, 1 for Bernie.
Missouri.
2 for Warren, 1 abstain.
Montana.
2 for Bernie.
Nebraska.
3 for Warren.
Nevada.
3 for Warren.
New Hampshire.
2 for Warren.
New Jersey.
9 for Bernie, 2 for Warren.
New Mexico.
2 for Sanders, 1 for Warren.
New York.
11 for Warren, 1 for Bernie, and 1 for Jimmy Carter.
North Carolina.
5 for Sanders, 4 for Warren.
North Dakota.
2 for Sanders, 1 for Warren.
North Mariana Islands.
Well, if we can't have Amy, we'll vote 2 for Warren.
Ohio.
1 Warren, 3 Sanders, 2 abstain.
Oklahoma.
All 4 for Elizabeth Warren.
Oregon.
1 for Warren.
Pennsylvania.
3 for Warren, 1 for Bernie, 1 abstain.
Puerto Rico.
2 para Warren.
Rhode Island.
3 for Warren.
South Carolina.
4 for Warren, 1 for Sanders.
South Dakota.
2 for Warren, 1 for Sanders.
Tennessee.
3 for Bernie.
Texas.
12 for Warren.
Utah.
3 for Warren.
Vermont.
1 for Warren, 1 for Sanders.
Virgin Islands.
1 for Sanders.
Virginia.
4 for Warren, 1 for Sanders.
Washington.
4 for Warren.
West Virginia.
2 for Warren.
Wisconsin. And Wyoming. All right, don't move. We'll be getting back to you in about half a minute at the most. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a nominee for President of the United States from the Democratic Party, and her name is Elizabeth Warren. The chair, I would now like to recognize a motion to make Elizabeth Warren's nomination unanimous.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Elizabeth Warren will be the next Democratic candidate for President of the United States.
This one, right?
We already did that.
Greg?
The chair recognizes Joan.
Fellow delegates, wow, we've got a great candidate. Now we have to do a vice president. And we're getting right up to our deadline. So I am offering the following motion. I move that the vice presidential candidates be listed and named, and then that we, as a group, second them, and then we move immediately to roll call, and that the majority votes on the roll call are chosen as the vice president. So let me repeat.
Can you clarify plurality?
Plurality.
Yeah.
So we're going to hear the list. We're going to move for their acceptance. We're going to second it. Then we're going to go to roll call. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
First, we must consult our parliamentarian before we allow this motion to continue.
Could I ask a question? Greg, is this not just inflated confetti? I wanted real confetti.
Wait, can you change it.
Greg.
That's what he's gonna do.
Greg. Is this not just inflated confetti? I protest the confetti laws once again. Yes, it is. This is confetti.
Delegates, on the advice of the parliamentarian, I am amending my motion so that there is 30 seconds available for one person to talk about one of the candidates for vice president. Is there a second?
We have a second. Motion passed. Motion approved.
You gotta
I will
vote on
now read the list.
it. We have to vote on that. Also, I have a question for Greg.
What? All in favor?
I have a point of
All
inquiry.
opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. I will now read the list
I
of
have
vice
a
pre-
point of inquiry
Go ahead.
for Greg.
What? Out of order.
But this is just inflated confetti.
Out of order.
We don't
Sit
have
down,
time for
or
that.
we'll have security throw you out.
I will now read the list of vice presidential nominees, and then after that we will take one 30-second nomination speech for each candidate. First, we have Minority Leader Stacey Abrams, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Michelle Obama, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, President Jimmy Carter, and Senator Bernie Sanders. Those were the vice presidential nominees. Those were the vice presidential nominees. So we need a speech in favor of what?
Berman's a member of the Libertarian Party and is such ineligible for nomination.
Again, in your rules packet, the executive committee makes the rules. So I guess if we have to explain ourselves, which we don't have to, but Vermin Supreme is a member of the Libertarian Party. So this is the Democratic Convention. So we need one 30-second nomination speech in favor of each candidate. Stacey, we'll take the first one for Stacey Abrams.
Okay. I'm Sally Lieber from the great state of Wisconsin. I proudly nominate Stacey Abrams for Vice President of the United States. Stacey Abrams is a real candidate. She is a person you've heard about who ran for governor of Georgia and literally had the race stolen from her. To be clear, her opponent was actually in charge of who got to vote, and thousands of people, mostly people of color, were disenfranchised. In a world where truth and fairness reigns, Stacey Abrams is the governor of Georgia. She is a strong supporter of Medicare for all and Medicaid expansion, currently working to create a functional system for election security, advocates for criminal justice reform, wanting especially to end cash bail bonds for poor defendants. She is working against voter suppression. She is pro-choice, opposes vouchers, advocates for smaller classes, more counselors, better pay for teachers. She has co-sponsored bills to clean up hazardous waste and for clean energy. Stacey Abrams is the vice president we have been waiting for. She will not just stare longingly at the president like a vacant lapdog.
Delegate, your speech
She
is
will
ended.
do the work of democracy.
All right, next up we have a speech for Senator Amy Klobuchar. A speech for Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Hamza, co-chair of Ohio. Now, we should not vote for Michelle Obama because the United States does not need
This is a
more
speech for
political
Michelle Obama.
dynasties. The United States does not need more political dynasties.
For Michelle Obama.
Not to mention her husband.
Delegate, you're out Michelle Obama?
Michelle Obama was one of the smartest first women we've had in this country who made real change in the country to try and help children who are our future. So let's make our future even stronger by making Michelle Obama our vice president.
Now we need a speech in favor of Pete Buttigieg.
He throws his support to Stacey Abrams.
A speech for President Jimmy Carter.
For all the same reasons stated before, Jimmy Carter, A, should have been nominated for president, but nonetheless will be just as equally powerful and influential and confident and dependable as your vice president.
And a speech for Senator Bernie Sanders.
Let's just look at his viewpoints. Just look at his positions. What he actually wants to do with his plan. Number one, no capital punishment. Isn't that cruel? No capital punishment. Number two, wealth tax. He's targeting the 1%. God damn it, man. Someone's targeting it.
Delegate, please wrap your speech up. Time.
Okay. Just vote for Bernie, man. There's nothing else I can say.
3 minutes to caucus. Caucus. Do I have a motion to vote? Do I have a second? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. All right. You have 1 minute to caucus, and then we will do a roll call vote. Do you want to do the roll call? All right. The updated list of nominees is Minority Leader Stacey Abrams, Michelle Obama, President Jimmy Carter, and Senator Bernie Sanders.
All right, delegates, we will begin the roll call vote. First, from the great state of Alabama. Great. Second, from the great state of Alaska. Next, from the territory of American Samoa. Not present. Next, from the great state of Arizona.
5 for Stacy, 2 abstain.
Next, from the great state of Arkansas.
2 for Stacey Abrams.
Next, from the great state of California.
8 for Stacey Abrams, 3 for Michelle Obama, 3 for Jimmy Carter, and 2 for Bernie Sanders.
Next, from the great state of Colorado.
Colorado cast 1 vote for Michelle Obama and 2 votes for Bernie Sanders to reunite the left.
Next, from the great state of Connecticut.
3 for Stacy, 1 for Michelle, and 1 for Bernie.
Next, from the great state of Delaware.
2 for Michelle.
Next, from the great state of, that's not really a state, but Democrats Abroad, which I don't believe is here, correct? All right. Next, from the District of Columbia. Not present. Next, from the great state of Florida.
2 for Abrams.
Next, from the great state of Georgia.
10 for Abrams, 1 for Carter.
Next, from the great territory of Guam. Next, from the great state of Hawaii.
1 for Abrams, 1 abstention.
From the great state of Idaho.
3 for Abrams.
From the great state of Illinois.
The corrupt state. There's 4 for Abrams and 1 for Sanders.
From the great state of Indiana.
All 5 for Abrams.
From the great state of Iowa.
1 for Michelle, 1 abstain, and 1 write-in for Danny DeVito.
From the great state of Kansas.
1 vote for Stacey Abrams.
Kentucky.
2 votes for Stacey Abrams.
Louisiana.
3 for Abrams, 1 for Sanders.
From Maine.
Maine cast 1 vote for Michelle Obama and 2 abstentions in protest of Shaquille O'Neal being egregiously left off.
The great state of Maryland.
2 for Abrams, 3 for Obama.
The great state of Massachusetts.
8 votes for Jimmy Carter.
The great state of Michigan.
5 for Stacy, 2 for Amy, 1 abstaining.
The great state of Minnesota.
1 for Sanders, 5 for Abrams.
From the great state of Mississippi.
3 for Michelle Obama.
From the great state of Missouri.
3 for Abrams.
From the great state of Montana.
2 for Carter.
Carter. From the great state of Nebraska.
3 for Obama.
From the great state of Nevada.
2 for Abrams, 1 for Obama.
From the great state of New Hampshire.
2 for Abrams.
From the great state of New Jersey.
11 for Bernie.
From the great state of New Mexico.
2 for Abrams, 1 for Obama.
From the great state of New York.
5 for Bernie, 2 for Carter, and 6 for Stacey.
From the great state of North Carolina.
4 for Abrams, 5 for Sanders.
From the great state of North Dakota.
3 for Abrams.
From the great territory of the Northern Mariana Islands.
2 for Abrams.
For the great state of Ohio.
6 abstaining. This is a kangaroo court. This is a mockery of the
For the great state of Oklahoma.
Security. Out. Get him out. He's out. You're out.
Rest in peace, our apex predator. Would the great state of Oklahoma please repeat your votes?
3 for Stacey Abrams, 1 for Michelle Obama.
From the great state of Oregon.
1 for
1 vote for Abrams, thank you. The great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
We have 4 for the former First Lady Obama, and 1 for Carter.
Can you repeat that again?
1 for Obama, 1 for Carter.
Thank you.
No, 4 for Carter, 1 for Obama.
Speak loudly, please.
4 for Obama, 1 for Carter.
4 for Obama, 1 for Carter. Great. Glad we got that cleared up. From the great territory of Puerto Rico.
One for Obama, one for Abrams.
From the great state of Rhode Island.
Three for Michelle Obama.
From the great state of South Carolina.
One for Abrams, one for Obama, and three for Carter.
From the great state of South Dakota.
Three for Abrams.
From the great state of Tennessee.
Three for Abrams.
From the great state of Texas.
Four for Abrams, six for Obama.
From the great state of Utah.
Three for Michelle Obama.
3 from Michelle Obama. From the great state of Vermont.
2 for Abrams.
The great territory of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
The USVI knows that Jimmy would support Stacy, so one vote for Stacy.
From the great state of Virginia.
4 for Abrams.
From the great state of Washington.
4 for Abrams.
From the great state of West Virginia.
1 Abrams, 1 Obama.
From the great state of Wisconsin.
7 for Abrams.
And lastly, from the great state of Wyoming. Can you repeat that, please?
1 for Obama.
All right, we will join you briefly with the results. All right, so according to your votes, the nominee for Vice President will be Minority Leader Stacey Abrams. I will entertain a motion on the floor to unanimously nominate Minority Leader Stacey Abrams as our nominee for Vice President. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Minority Leader Stacey Abrams will be the next Vice President of the United States. Thank you so much. Up next, we will be giving out the individual and delegation awards.
The first, after we announce these, can we hold on applause until we've announced all of the awards? And if you got an award, just come up after and we'll give you your prize. Thank you. The first is our Al Gore Jr. Award for the Excellence in Environmental Debate. Is is it Armory? Wait. Sorry guys, we're holding applause.
And winner of...
Wait, we're not announcing that one.
All right. And winner of the Barack Obama Award for Excellence in the Healthcare Debate goes to Brandon Stevens.
And the winner of the RBG Award for Excellence in Social Policy Debate goes to Alex Moskub.
And the FDR Award for the Most Patriotic Delegation goes to Puerto Rico. We would also like to give honorable mention to the great state of Ohio and the great state of Missouri.
And the Mock Scavenger Hunt Award goes to Wisconsin.
For this next award, we actually have two winners. For the Golden Donkey Award for Best Delegation Banner, the first award goes to Rhode Island. The second winner was the great state of Nevada.
And our last award is a very, very, very special award. And it's the Paul Wellstone Award for Excellence in Delegation Recruitment. And it goes to Dr. Ellen Arnold. That's it. No.
All right?
What?
Let's just do it.
Oh, the one we didn't announce? Well, he got kicked out, so he can't accept it. Yeah, we're gonna give it to him after, but he can't come on the floor because I kicked him out.
All right, and next, Dr. Mack will announce the winners from the raffle from the mock convention survey.
Oh, you all forgot, didn't you? So, on behalf of my fall 2019 public opinion class, if you are all still here, just wave your hands, shout it out, the inaugural class, as well as the program subcommittee, I would like to thank you all, the OWU community, for participating in the mock convention public opinion surveys. And so here are the 10 winners of $10 Chipotle gift cards. And so when I call your name, meet me over there in the corner with your ID, and I will give you your prize. First off, we have Zach Stitler. Second, Clay Sturts. Third, Anthony Paget. Fourth, Olivia Beauchamp. Fifth, Adrian Moran. Sixth, Dimitri Ashe. Seventh, Mary Kate McNally. 8, Wyatt Wells. 9, Amanda Ciccone, C-I-C-C-O-N-E. I apologize if I mispronounced. And then 10, Ignacio Cardenas. So once again, Zach Stitler, Clay Sturts, Anthony Paget, Olivia Beauchamp, Adrian Moran, Dimitri Ashe, Mary Kate McNally, Wyatt Wells, Amanda Ciccone, and Ignacio Cardenas. If you know these individuals and they're not here, please tell them to go to PG department next week to pick up their cards. In Elliott Hall, second floor.
And lastly, on behalf of all the co-chairs, I want to thank all of you for joining us for today's and yesterday's mock convention celebration of democracy. If you didn't notice, we just nominated 2 women for both President and Vice President of the United States. Regardless of which candidate you support, we encourage you to go out and make your voice heard. The future is yours. So, as your honorary chair, this convention now stands in adjournment.
Yeah. You used to call. Money on my mind. Money.
Exec committee, don't leave yet, don't leave yet. We have to take our pictures for memories. We did it.